You're watching a segment of The Splash, Greater West Bloomfield's news magazine show.
Welcome back. We're joined by West Bloomfield resident and author Risa Kirschner. And Risa, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, it's good to be here.
So you are a lecturer, an attorney, real estate broker, but now you are an author. So tell me a little bit about this.
So 15 years ago, I was sick when my daughter was 2. And the story is based on her real life experience, her visits to me in the hospital, and how she perceived the hospital, and the things that made her nervous and the things that made her excited. And it's all based on her visits to me and what she learned about being at the hospital.
So it kind of demystifies the
Exactly.
hospital for kids who may have to go pretty often to see their parents.
Right, visit a parent, a loved one. I wanted her to know that I loved her no matter what, whether I was at home or whether I was in the hospital, that I loved her the same. And that's really what the book talks about.
Okay, so the book is called Feel Better Mommy, and I'm going to have you read a few pages.
Okay, wonderful. Okay? Yep. Today is a very special day, Abby thought, as she pushed the shiny elevator button in the big, tall hospital. Let's go see your mommy, her Nana said, smiling. Abby's mom had a boo-boo. Abby's Nana explained that some boo-boos are on the outside of your body, like the time Abby fell and scraped her knee. But some boo-boos are in the inside of your body, like her mom's, and this was why my mom was in the hospital. Mommy, are you here? Abby called down the long hallway, peeking her head into each room as she went by. Mommy, where are you? She asked, feeling a little nervous. The hospital was sure big, much bigger than Abby's home. I'm in here, Mom whispered loudly from her room. Come give me a big hug. Abby let go of her Nana's hand and ran to the last room on the right. But as she rounded the corner, she stopped, surprised by what she saw. Abby's mom was in a special bed, surrounded by all kinds of strange machines with tubes sticking out of different parts of her body. This did not look like home at all.
And it wasn't home, but Abby, in the book, was able to come and see you.
Correct.
And she had many adventures when she was in the hospital.
She did. So she loved playing with the bed. I gave her the remote control, and she loved making the bed go up and then go down and then go up and down together. And she rode on my lap. Every time they took me somewhere by wheelchair, she rode on my lap. And she carried her teddy bear around with her, and they let her push her teddy bear around in the wheelchair. So she found it as a big adventure. She loved visiting me, and she loved getting to learn about the hospital.
So what's so interesting about this is that this book was written 15 years ago.
It was written 15 years ago, correct.
And your daughter has no memory of this.
She has no memory of the event, thankfully. It was a kind of a traumatic event for me, but luckily she has no memory of it. But I remember very vividly her visits and how important it was for her to visit me when I was sick.
So that being said, you've actually been a patient advocate.
So for the past 10 years, I started to volunteer at the hospital and talk about my experience of being a patient and how important it is for my family, for my daughter to have been there, and giving back. I'd like to help other patients and families as well.
So let me ask you this question. If a parent is in the hospital for an extended stay or even a loved one, your thought about children visiting, instead of being scary, is what?
It's important, and I talk to the hospitals, I talk to the staff, and I say how important it is for children to be able to visit their parents when it's appropriate. My daughter wasn't allowed to see me all the time, but they made it, when it was appropriate, they made it possible, and they'd cover me up if they needed to, but they knew as part of my healing process how important it is for a loved one, or especially a parent, to be able to have their children around.
Right. Okay, so we actually have 3 different copies in front of us. Same book, but 3 different copies. So explain, this one is the hardcover.
So I have the hardcover. Yep, I have the hardcover. And there's a softcover edition, and
I was holding.
And we also created a coloring book. So the idea is that depending on the age of the child, it might be nice for them to, even if they couldn't read it on their own, someone could read it to them and they could color in the pages. And
so it's the same story.
Same story in all 3. Yeah,
just in a coloring book
edition.
So what age appropriate?
So
do you think this is?
We decided to write, when I wrote the book, 5 to 8 could read it on their own, but we really said it could be read to really anybody older or younger, anyone who's getting ready to go to the hospital for the very first time. But if someone wanted, it would be like a 5 to 8, like a young reader could read it on their own.
Right, right. And probably you want a parent or a caregiver to read this because
correct.
you don't want them to be looking at this and thinking, oh, what a great thing, but then they go to the hospital.
Right,
and
exactly.
it's
So the
scary.
hope is that someone's reading it to them and kind of helping them along and explaining to them as they go.
So tell me one thought, if you could sum it up in one sentence for me. What does this book mean to you?
This book is a love story it's a love story for my daughter. I was not home for a very long period of time, and one thing, if you asked her, she will tell you that she has no memory of the event, but she knows she was loved. And that was the goal, is that even if a parent or a loved one has to be away, that whether they're in the hospital or somewhere else, that the love for their child is the same no matter whether they're home or whether they're not home. If you go to my website, it's www.feelbettermommy.com, and it'll tell you all the instructions on how to, all the directions on how to order the book.
Okay, and all of these will be available?
They will all be available.
All
correct.
versions?
Yep, all versions.
Okay.
Yep.
We also have 2 books sitting next to me, and these are not kid books.
No.
These are not kid books.
They're adult books.
They're adult books.
Yep, I contributed to 2 books about my experience as a patient, both of which are about medical experience. And those are also available. Those are adult books.
Right, and you have a chapter in this one?
I have a chapter in that one, and I have a chapter in the other one as well.
Okay, and they're both by Michigan authors as well?
They're both by people who work at the University of Michigan, which is where I was treated, correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so you have a chapter in each of these?
I have a chapter in each of those, yep.
But as you said, this is your love story.
So this is my love story, yep.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank
and you are a graduate at West Bloomfield, correct?
I am.
So alumni and now an author.
Yep.
So good luck with the book, and thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you.
And again, we've been joined by West Bloomfield resident and author Risa Kirschner.
Thanks for watching a segment of The Splash. To catch the entire show or other segments, watch us on Comcast Channel 15 or AT&T Channel 99. Or look us up online at thesplash.tv and listen to us on WBLD 89.3, the all-new Lakes FM.